So good afternoon, everyone. A lot of empty seats, but I have a very esteemed panelist. All the sessions were talking to the about technology, but here we have all the technology leaders who have been practically doing things, transforming the industry. So a warm welcome for them, at least some clapping so that they get warmed up and then provide you the insights. First of all, let me welcome you all and taking out time to share your experience out here. And I would like to make this session more pragmatic and practical rather than academic. So without much ado, the topic is the digital shift, fueling the future of insurance. Complex, but I would say that the digital is passé now. It has moved to the next level of it. It should be like digital will be embedded in every action and every part of the industry. And that is what is going to happen, and we all kind of agree to it. So let me start with you, Suhail. AI and Gen AI, ML, NLP, and a lot of these words you would be hearing, and our audience also would be hearing. The boards are asking about this. The common people are asking. My daughters are asking about AI and Gen AI, so it's becoming quite difficult. So I would like to ask you that how you are kind of building the platform and using AI in your business.
Hi, first of all, thank you for having us here. Look, as you have said, AI is there everywhere. So today, if you look at it, AI is actually helping us do 2 or 3 things. One, it is helping us how do we make our sales folks more efficient. It's not about replacing the human being. It is about making him more efficient, almost like, like your twin. So one thing we are seeing is that how can we use Gen AI to create a custom pitch for our salespeople based on the lead attributes and the product requirement. I think this is helping us, especially with the low vintage in our industry. There's a higher attrition comparatively. So how do you make the low vintage guys sell a complex product? I think this is one big area. The other big area we have a lot of AI, and not just Gen AI. AI was in a whole underwriting business. I think in our especially in the life business, we actually underwrite a person for all his lifetime. And therefore, we don't have the luxury of repricing the product every year. So what we end up doing is that how can you balance the customer experience and the friction in the journey? So today, more than 80% of our retail policies, we don't even are humanlessly underwritten, and we work very closely with our underwriting teams to make this possible. Now, going beyond this, we're also looking at a medical portfolio. How can we even auto underwrite them? Similarly, when it comes to our customer experience, and that's the area using today our renewals, when to call, whom to call. That's a big where AI plays a picture. Now using Gen AI cases, we also like to think which is like a virtual HR business partner. The idea is there, how can you or business partner who can know your sentiment, know when to intervene. And lastly, we are also looking now on a more and more contact center. Now with a much better NLP capability and multi-intent, the ability to have a conversation using a Gen AI, I think that's a much larger area. So all in all, and I'm sure I would have missed more areas. This is a very interesting place to be in.
Thank you, Suhail. And 2 themes are emerging from your points that you shared. One is on the efficiency and productivity for the internal organization. And second is that you are trying to provide a better customer experience in an industry where it is considered to be at times on the empathy side, there are always, you will see questions, etc. So Ajay, coming to you, there is customer experience, there is efficiency and productivity, there is risk and compliance that needs to be managed, and then cost optimization part of it. So productivity is I can do more with the same kind of thing. Now, how is your organization and how you are kind of setting or using these technologies to kind of build the future of your organization?
Right. So thank you, first of all. So obviously primary focus is customer experience. As Suhail mentioned, use cases where, because insurance products also evolve and the contracts can be 10, 15, 20 years, there are times when consumers want clarity around the product that they bought 10 years back, 15 years back, and they're coming to our call center agent and saying, I bought this policy, can you help me explain this policy what I bought some time back, right? So obviously for the agent in the call center also, there are so many products that have been sold over a period of time. They may not have context of all the contracts that have been executed in the past. So we're using AI to say that can we simplify previous contracts, consumer calls our contact center, and there's a summary given at that point in time where the customer can then get a simple understanding of the call itself. Obviously, this eventually comes to a bot, so the client may need not even call in and ask for clarity of the product. So primary focus obviously is consumer experience side. The same extension of this on the consumer experience side is also at the stage of buying an insurance. So can you explain the product to me the way I would like to understand, which means when an agent is with a consumer or when an advisor is with the consumer, there could be questions which the consumer is asking. Can we address that then and there? Sometimes it can be a comparison with another product. Sometimes it can be features within the same product. So can we have some element of use of generative AI to be able to answer those questions then and there itself? And last but not the least, obviously, is in terms of voice to text kind of plays that we have. Of course, today it's fairly accurate in English as a language. The Indian language is still not as accurate as we would want it to be. But in that play also, there can be a training element and there can be a conversational element to reply back to emails to a consumer with more context. Basis just only templated emails in the earlier model. So the earlier model, you could template an email and just send it back. But now it's going to be in a way I can contextualize to what the consumer is writing back or talking at that point in time, including the tone of the email or the tone of the language that's being spoken about. And that helps you respond better in a more personalized fashion back to the consumer.
So thank you on that. So customer experience is something which you are kind of focusing and building your use cases. Now let me come to you, Sumanta. AI, Gen AI, it requires a lot of investments and a lot of bandwidth also because you have to train somebody, right? The models have to be trained on that part of it. And initially there was a lot of support, but these days we are seeing what is the return on investment? How do you kind of manage that? How do you convince your CFO that no, you need to spend money and I'm going to show you the returns on that part of it? Is it incremental? Is it substantial? So that's a question which the CFOs are asking now.
And it's a very valid question actually, frankly speaking. Because you see this ecosystem of AI is evolving and it's still evolving. It's not stagnant yet. There would be, today there is Gen AI we are all talking about. Tomorrow, I don't know, maybe Gen plus AI or something else comes up, okay? So I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that, okay, Gen AI is obviously helpful and there are use cases in the organization. But I would say that while I'd like to convince my CFO, the key thing to think about is, because this question which is asked by the CFO is not CFO's question, it's an organization question, it's organization's money. So I think we have to safeguard a little bit, also think through that when we implement AI, how do I safeguard ourselves from this evolution that is happening, at the same time utilizing the value. So I think the new age AI provider companies, they are also working towards it. Like you might be hearing there are multiple Gen AI models in the market, right? Claude, Anthropic, you name it. All the big guys are launching their own AI, Gen AI models and stuff. And there are continuous changes happening, upgrades are happening. So I think we have to think in a way so that as a business house, how we can at the same time get the value of it, at the same time, protect ourselves from those big changes. Like, okay, we implement a project and we utilized it, spend money, and then we realize, okay, some other model came up which is much more efficient, so we have to redo. So that we have to be cognizant of. Having said that, we should invest in AI and we have to figure out use cases and, be agile in implementation. Don't ask upfront investment of huge amount of money. Have some POC use cases and then run them and then you go for further investment. New age, partners, let's say is AWS, Microsoft, whoever you look at, they are coming up with those models, right? They are not asking for huge upfront investment. They are kind of trying to put a pay as you go sort of model. We should look forward to it. Yeah, though that's where if we can cadence it out to convince my CEO that, okay, it's not a huge upfront investment, but yes, if we can invest little, see the value out of it, and then again invest that way, I would like to convince my CFO.
So Sumanta is still playing it safe, so we'll leave it there. Prajakt, moving to you. You are a technologist, you are running InsurTech, you have experience in this. And as rightly said by Sumanta, that every day you are seeing new module, new model, agentic AIs, and new terminology will keep on coming. And we consultants are struggling to keep pace with those jargons. So I'm just saying that part of it. So how should a business, like insurance is a capital intensive business, profitability, regulatory, compliance, etc. What should be their strategy? How should they plan to adopt these technologies without spending much time and resources, but still deriving the benefit? And the other question that always comes, a lot of IT projects start. Do we really get the benefits out of it? So these are the difficult questions which keeps on coming on that, and those questions have to be answered by our CIOs, CTOs, and CDOs. So based on your experience, working with the industry, working for the industry, providing technology solutions, what's your suggestions?
Thank you so much. Look, I think if you look at the Gen AI or AI as a category and the rapid sort of growth that has happened in the last 5-6 years, there's no way any one of us can stay out of it. I think there is tremendous potential, and there is tremendous sort of outcomes which we are going to see coming out of Gen AI specifically, and then AI as a broader category. Now, I mean, for a lot of these things, you really don't need to do huge investment or commitment of huge investment to begin with. Thankfully, in last 12, 13 years with the cloud providers, with AWS, GCP, Azure, I think the capital investment that earlier needed to set up these things in terms of whether hardware or expertise, a lot of that has kind of has significantly reduced. So the way to sort of go about this is to pick a provider that you feel you are confident to work with. Build your abstraction so that you are not committing to one provider, because what's going to happen is that the foundational models are going to evolve. There are new foundational models that will come, new technologies which will come. I think we are just at the very beginning of the whole generative AI as a category. So don't lock in, but at the same time, you don't really have to do massive investments to experiment with these technologies, and build MVPs, build iteratively on top of it, look at where the outcomes are coming, look at the categories where this particular specific technology is giving results and returns, and then continue to sort of build on top of it.
Thank you, Prajakt. MVP, iterative, experiment, so I just take that input. But Suhail, coming to one important question, and just to give you a perspective, talking about AI, I personally took a 8-week training on AI to understand that what exactly it can do and what is the possibility across industry. And recently we had been tracking, so Klarna is a neobank which kind of provides, and they have said they have stopped recruiting people. No addition to the human resources part of it, and they will grow the business using these agents and AIs and etc. part of it. Now, one of the challenge that will come to you that once as we start adopting these models, etc., and a lot of productivity, efficiency will come, it will require a lot of reskilling of the resources starting from the top to the feet on the street, etc. How are we planning for that? How are we thinking about that? Or is it just a roadmap, or the evolution is just happening on that?
No, I think this is a very good point, and very honestly, this skilling need not just happen at the operating levels. So I think we're at, so the way we've been thinking a little differently, so looking across the leadership pipeline. So first of all, looking at that senior leadership itself, where we are trying to more embed them and make them more technology dexterous, and showing them the art of possible, what digital or AI can do. I think this is the starting point, because you want leaders who first believe in this. Secondly, what we are doing is that especially at our middle management levels, this is a level where you are actually helping people, train them, as you rightly said, train them in small courses. They get in, and you would know many of these courses, you don't need to be technology background. If you are logical, you are basic maths and reasoning, you can actually do this. We have actually made some of our leaders make small models to show what is the art of possible. Then there are different kind of people where you have to do and make them think like, do you ask the right question? Whole about prompt engineering. How do you train your people to do this? And finally, there has to be an openness of technology at the lower management level, the people who will actually use this. At least my personal belief is, in many cases, AI may not replace a human being, but it will make the human being much more productive. And therefore, how to use this thing? Like, for example, you will have probably AI will get you 95% accuracy. So how do you create a process model that with 95% accuracy and some manual oversight, you still deliver the same value? We are all in financial services. We cannot be 99% accurate, at times. And therefore, how do you work this model out? So it's far more efficient, far more faster for the customer and consumer. But at the same point of time, at least my personal belief, it won't replace humans everywhere.
Okay, so I think still you're optimistic on that part of it, Suhail. So let me just extend to you, Ajay, and I will just give an anecdote. They deployed a bot in a call center, and our customers, as you know, right, at times when things are not going their way, they start using abusive languages. And the training started in a way that the bot also started using abusive languages. The point out here is that how do you build the guardrails? How do you build the kind of manage all aspect of it? Because there is customer data, there are a lot of other data related to it. And then there is regulatory and compliance requirement also. And then these have to be trained, brought in field, etc. How to manage all those paradox and still derive the right benefit within an optimal cost?
Right. So interesting point. So one is obviously in your early use cases, we don't expose customer data to any of the AI use cases, right? So you don't expose PII data, you don't essentially go and host it out on a public platform on the internet for the consumers to interact with in the first phase. So our first attempt is obviously employee facing and internal facing, right? That's the first guardrail to say that if my bot is learning, then the learning first happens internally before I expose it out to the external world. The second one is obviously now, as the panel members were mentioning, that a lot of these tools are easily available outside. So it's not like we are building our models, you are renting out models available out there to a large degree. So your languages and all, and abusive language and all is frankly handled in most of the programs that you get today, right? So that exposure is fundamentally solved by the kind of integrations that you will do, right? To the point of skilling, I'll just pick up that also, is to say that increasingly tech is becoming so simple, and with AI it will become increasingly more simple, that your level of skilling will be more in terms of your creativity to use the AI rather than using the tool. So at some point in time, 10, 15 years back, we were teaching employees how to use Excel. We don't need to teach that to the new generation skills today, which means the kind of skills you hire will be more people who can creatively use AI for solving problems rather than how to use AI itself. Because the user interface that you will build for the use of AI itself should address that fact. So that's broadly how we're thinking.
Sure. So tech is becoming simple, and creatively how we can use that part of it. Coming to you, Sumanta. So there have been a lot of investments going on the data platform, so different initiatives, etc. And on top of this, we are trying to build the platform and creating the use cases for this. So how these two programs marry, and how you start deriving benefits out of it? One, there is a BAU which has to run, whether it is the analytics and other aspect of it, and the second is this part of it. And the resources are limited to you on this aspect. So how do you kind of manage this?
Yeah, I think very, very valid point, very, very good point, I would say. So even if you look at, I think few months back, one of the AWS, they call this designation as scientist. So he mentioned your AI is only as good as your data. Okay, so you see, we kind of, few years back, we kind of, as an ecosystem, as an industry, we kind of solved the availability of data, in the volume of data, that different initiatives has taken place, and we are getting data. Now, yes, data is a source of information for the AI engine to run, but the key thing which is now being worked upon, and we realize that as an industry we missed it, it's the contextual data. Okay. On that basis, all this hallucination, etc. come, we realize that too much data is also not good. Okay. We solve the problem of having all sorts of data we need, and then in that process, we also had too much of data for an AI engine or a algorithm to run. So yes, it's a gradual progression. I think the key thing is we have solved the problem of collecting the data. Now there is a next level of making the relevant data or the contextual data available to your AI program or AI bot or AI engine, so that it processes and it processes right amount of information to give right amount of output. As we all know, it's still that garbage in, garbage out works. The example he has given, you throw him abusive languages, he will give you back abusive languages. You give him contextual information, he will give back contextual output, which is relevant. Here the challenge is a bit more in terms of it is no longer a mathematical sort of processing. There is an element of decision making happening by the AI, which is not the case. We have not hit this use case earlier, before AI era, I am saying. It was, okay, difficult mathematical problem to solve, difficult processing problem to solve, but it was never a difficult in decision making concept to solve. And what as an industry people are realizing is, a large part of solving that problem is providing contextual data, which is relevant in the context you are in. Okay, for example, if you are answering a life insurance policy with death benefit and maybe and plus let's say surrender value, the concept is very different in India, while the base is still the same than what it is in US. Okay. Now we have collected data from entire world, the Gen AI models, right? They have collected data from internet. Entire world's data is there. So how can we contextualize so that it can read out the Indian context and then respond with Indian context? That's very important. So data is there, data was there, we solved that problem. Now it's the time to contextualize that data so that the AI model is efficient. So I would like to put in that way.
Yeah, so the decision-making part is that which is going to be complex as we move along. So Prajakt, coming to you. So we talked about AI, Gen AI, etc. Now, any of the new technologies which you believe can have an impact in the coming years? Quantum or edge computing, blockchain has been there, IoT in general insurance, people are trying to figure that out. Any of the technologies which you want to put your money on, no betting?
So I think I would still put my money, most of my money on Gen AI right now.
Okay.
I think that's where probably the majority of the investment and innovation and new things are going to come up. Like one of the things which Ajay said, that the UI, UX is becoming simpler, right? No one had to teach even like a grandfathers to use WhatsApp, right? Because it's very natural to sort of use WhatsApp. What's going to happen with Gen AI is that our UX in the way we interact with computer is just going to completely change. We are going to use NLP to interact with the computers. We are going to use natural language to converse with computers. And I think that is going to significantly change the way we use compute, the way compute is used across the org in the personal and the professional space both. So I think Gen AI is definitely where a lot of money should be put. I do think blockchain will come back though. I think blockchain has got onto a little bit of backseat for whatever happened on crypto and other side, which were sort of built on top of blockchain. I think conceptually, blockchain for insurance industry and any industry which has multiple parties who sort of interact in executing an order is a superb tech. And I think blockchain, in my opinion, should come back, will come back.
Okay, thank you. So we have 1 minute. We have not talked about the legacy part of it and all other initiatives which are happening in the technology space in the insurance industry. But I will open the floor. If there are any questions, 1 or 2, we can take it, because we have an August panelist out here. Okay, one question out there, if somebody can give the mic out there. Yeah, please. Customer profiling, just keying in a query. So couple of questions you ask with the customer, and then you create a profile of that and then use it as a baseline. Any one of you who would like to take?
So my question is, if suppose that I have applied or I have put in an application for insurance, and will my profile be searched right through across not only the databases but my social pages as well, just by putting in a query on AI?
Yeah, I mean, I can take that. I don't think this is not a specifically a function of AI per se, but I think it will happen. I think lot of detailing which has to be done today to fill up, let's say, complicated forms, the details that you have to fill up from the different sources where the data has to come. I think all of that will become very simple. I mean, the way to sort of look at Gen AI is that think of it like a co-pilot. That's a term which is used everywhere. So if you look at it as a co-pilot, then it is working along with you to do a certain task or to get some certain things done. So I think that is what probably will happen. And as the edge compute, especially the phones become more and more powerful, some of these things can be done with user consent and on the edge devices. So especially some of the Apple devices, we are already seeing the capability sort of coming on the edge devices. And in that way, it becomes private, it becomes secure, it becomes safe, and it becomes consent driven. So yeah. I think it will go down that.
Just to summarize 3 things, you have a large digital footprint, every one of us. Second, you are giving consent left, right, and center. So rest assured your profile will add up there, and financial services industry is getting smarter. They will definitely use it. Thank you, everyone.